My story starts with my parents. They were both Polish. My father came to this country as a young man during the war. He was stationed in Scotland with the Allies, prepared to fight for Great Britain against Hitler's army. My mother came to England 2 decades later in the mid-60s. A mutual Polish friend introduced them, and they were married within a year. My mum and dad came to this country with the same dreams and hopes, to build a better life for themselves. But they had to fight for everything. There was so much hatred and intolerance towards immigrants back then. It was much worse than it is now. Many British people were wary of foreigners, and they didn't want them. Why should immigrants take their jobs? The jobs of people born in this country. My father was prepared to die for this country. He shouldn't have been denied anything. After the war, he applied for jobs as a cleaner, happy to do anything to put food on the table. My parents didn't claim benefits or expect things to be handed to them on a plate. When they got jobs in the factory in the mill town where I grew up, they suffered racial abuse on a daily basis. One of the bullies was a middle-aged neighbour of ours. One day I went round to her house to have it out with her, as my mum was upset and crying when she came home from work. I was so angry, but I soon learned you can't reason with a bully, and her husband was quick to defend her. I was born in Nottingham on the 18th of March 1967. Polish was my first language. From a young age, I was bullied for being different. "Get back on the boat! Go back to where you came from!" the kids at school would shout. "Right, so you want me to go back on a boat from Derbyshire to Nottingham?" Physically impossible. Those ignorant bullies saw my Polish surname and assumed, they didn't have the decency to ask, that I'd emigrated from a distant land. I didn't look any different to them, and I could speak perfect English, but they saw me as different. How I hated going to school because of those bullies. I was bullied when I first went to Poland on holiday. "Wracaj do Anglii!" "Go back to England," the Polish kids would shout. They didn't want me in their country. They didn't understand why I spoke Polish with a strange English accent. It was alien to them, as was I. I started to wonder where I belonged. I was bullied by the English for not being English, and bullied by the Polish for not being Polish. Why did people always want to know where me and my parents came from? What gave them the right to snigger when they heard our surname? What gave kids at school the right to call me hurtful names? And what gave people the right to verbally abuse my parents because of their race? I have some wonderful memories of my childhood. The smell of my mum's Polish cooking. Ah, she was a great cook. Pierogi, scrumptious dumplings, and makownik, a Moorish poppy seed cake. Mum also loved British recipes, and she'd ask me how to make things I'd learnt to cook at school, like scones and mince pies. And how can I forget my childhood dolly, all dressed up in a pink onesie? A gift from my parents. I still treasure it today. I didn't have children of my own, a decision I'll always regret. Growing up, I longed for a sister. My Polish dolly, my lalka, is the daughter, the sister I never had. My mum and dad are no longer here. I miss them both dearly. They gifted me their love and a deep appreciation of Polish culture and language. I was born in this country, but my heart and soul will forever be Polish. It's not something I'll ever apologise for or deny. No child of immigrants should feel the need to deny their heritage. Nor should immigrants ever have to justify why they came to this country. My parents were proud to be Polish, but they were also proud to live in Great Britain. My mum was more of a royalist than I've ever been. She wouldn't let a bad word be said against Her Majesty the Queen, and she'd never miss one of her speeches. My mum and dad had every right to make a life together in this country. They contributed, they integrated, they worked hard. It took courage for them to leave their home country, to come to a foreign land, to start from scratch, to learn a new language. When my mum passed away 2 years ago, I gifted her a funeral mass I knew she'd have loved, half Polish and half English, just like me. So, ask me where I came from, and I'll tell you. I came from my Polish mother's womb. I'm as much Polish as I am English.